Let me tell you something. As a seasoned member, damn near have a tenure in this fragrance space, there's a lot of fragrances that are legendary in the fragrance community. There's a lot of fragrances that changed or helped formulate what is known as FRAGCOMM right now. I've been in content creation in the fragrance space, I believe going on 10 years.
Damn!
There was only a fraction of the amount of content creators that there currently is, and some of the OGs are still on the platform. Granted, not everybody is happy with the way FRAGCOMM has progressed, and that can easily be said about anything that's going on in life. But I remember back in the day, there was like a handful of fragrances that you would see every content creator speak about, go buy at the department store because maybe Jeremy said it, or the fragrance was so good that it started a crazy snowball effect and everybody was doing content on it because they enjoyed it so much. So I prepared a list of 10 legendary fragrances that I feel changed and started switching the fabric of FRAGCOMM as we know it. Let's roll my motherfucking music so I can put you on to 10 legendary fragrances that shaped what FRAGCOMM has become.
We're all alone. Yeah, but some friends from the south side, in case you cared. Out of all your friends, I want to be Cuba.
Listen, one of my beautiful peoples, you know who it is. It's your boy, C to the U to the B to the A. Now let's be clear, these aren't the only fragrances, right? There's a ton others, but these are the ones that specifically stick in the front of my brain as fragrances that I remember watching other content creators and it being on everybody's list, including my own. Now the important part of this list for me was that these are fragrances that can still be worn today, aren't necessarily dated, good scent profiles, but I'm sure people who've been watching since back then are exhausted to hear anything about this, but so many people are stepping into the fragrance space now that it may be a new adventure for them, and who am I to deny anybody a good adventure? Let's play. So one of the first fragrances on this list I must put in was Dior Sauvage EDT. Dior Sauvage EDT was a marketing masterpiece. It hit the ground exploding. I mean, 100-yard dash, ripping their abductors like Kevin Hart racing a football player.
I can't walk.
There's no way that anyone in the fragrance community can deny the impact that Sauvage had. You just can't. It's continued to progress in its flankers to better and better formulations, but the original EDT made a splash. I don't even know how many videos there's possibly on YouTube about this fragrance, but I can tell you it's countless amounts. It's a great fragrance. It does the job and does it well. Yes, it's associated with a lot of fuckboy energy, but the compliment monster that it was at that time and still is makes it a legendary fragrance that really formulated what FRAGCOMM has become. So Dior Sauvage EDT has to be on that legendary list. Next one, followed by Dior Sauvage EDT, Bleu de Chanel. Man, when I first smelled Bleu de Chanel, blew my doors off. I had never experienced that sensory overload that I did when I smelled that fragrance. Just drove me insane. I needed it. But then a couple of my boys who were close to me had that scent profile and I no longer wanted it. I never wanted to be the dude who smells like somebody else in my team. I always wanted to be different, and that's ego, but that's how I'm built. When a couple of the old heads, including myself, got their hands on Bleu de Chanel, through the roof. I'm sure it exacerbated the sales for Chanel tenfold. Another legendary classy scent profile hasn't died yet. Very wearable nowadays, especially the people who aren't in this community or just getting into this community. They absolutely love this scent profile, or maybe that scent profile helped propel them into this space. I know it did for a lot of content creators back then when that was first exposed, because you never knew that a fragrance could smell that spectacular. Now, of course, over time, the nose progresses, you get exposed to other things, but you can't deny would help formulate the fabric of this space. And I think Bleu de Chanel was definitely one that helped it as far as the marketing portion in the fragrance community. Next one, the king of niche, Creed Aventus. I remember the first video Jeremy did on this joint. Boom! Exploded. Wow, you would pay how much for a fragrance? How much did that shit cost? I remember when I first smelled Creed Aventus. Verbatim, I used to live in a luxury complex and this dude had a penthouse apartment that was 4 apartments in one. Italian dude, super suave, thin, ripped, young wifey, badass car. Dude used to go all the way downstairs from the penthouse to get his mail in his Versace robe, smelling and looking like $1 million. I could not pinpoint what this dude was wearing, but I captivated everyone around him. It was this spine-tingling reaction of a scent that I was like, what the hell is that? And finally got my hands on a sample of Creed Aventus when I heard all the rumblings in the fragrance community, and I was like, I found the golden goose that Penthouse dude is wearing. Shook me to my core when I found out what that fragrance was costing. I did anything and everything to find a discount on it, and eventually did, and I felt like I just landed on the moon. I was smelling better than anyone ever in my circle, and part of me felt like I hit the Mount Rushmore of success getting Creed Aventus.
He ain't lying.
Granted, times have changed, but we're not gonna sit here in front like that scent profile didn't change a lot of people's lives, including the people in the fragrance community. I think BlackRock owns Creed now, or whoever they switch hands with. I mean, they should definitely trickle down the bread, because the fragrance community absolutely helped launch Aventus, if not the entire house of Creed, into a different stratosphere, a more mass appeal stratosphere, putting people in that stratosphere. So Creed Aventus in the fragrance community absolutely made an explosion of an impact. Next one. Yves Saint Laurent, La Nuit de l'Homme. There's got to be at least 50 videos of La Nuit de l'Homme, bare minimum. I don't think there's a negative one out there. I mean, there probably is. People have different opinions on everything, but the majority of them were positive reviews about La Nuit de l'Homme, including mine. I thought it was a great fragrance. I don't currently own it anymore. I have thought about getting it back again, but I absolutely loved it. Another fragrance that was on Jeremy's radar, I think it's at least in 50 of his own videos, and he helped spiral that shit into a new dimension. I know a lot of people were saying that he was sponsored by Yves Saint Laurent. I can't confirm nor deny that fact, but if he was, that was the smartest thing that Yves Saint Laurent could have done, because it was an amazing scent and easy to boost. When something is that good, all you need is a charismatic individual behind it, and it can go to the moon, because once that person samples it, it'll sell itself. It just needs the proper exposure to have somebody have a reason to go and sniff this joint to prove or disprove that guy in front of the camera. And in the case of Yves Saint Laurent, proved positive. Yves Saint Laurent La Nuit de l'Homme switched the game up in the fragrance community. Next one. This one made a splash as well, but not a fragrance that I enjoy very much, to be honest with you. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. It just never did it for me. I never got anything out of that scent profile other than the fact that it was super sour and very salty. For me, off of my skin, it just didn't pop. It wasn't creative or sexy enough for me to ever have in my collection. I had one for content purposes, but that lasted a very minimal amount with barely anywhere. That fragrance for me didn't move me. The femme version smelled better in my opinion, but I liked it on females. I never liked any of those joints on me, but a lot of people in FRAGCOMM had it on those summer lists. Oof, and still do to this day. Different strokes for different folks. I just could never get on that train. It just didn't move me. Right now, Summer Vibes is one that I really enjoy, but it hasn't done much in the fragrance community, not with the effects that Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue EDT did back in the day. So there's no way that Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue couldn't be on this list. Next one. Jumping back into the niche space, Amouage Reflection Man shook the earth. Take all the sexiness, just remolecularize it and boost it, and I don't even know if that's a word. Boost that shit and take it to another level where you would just experience this euphoria, this sex appeal, this oozing of big dick energy out of an atomizer. Just Swing. That is what Amouage Reflection Man was in the fragrance community. People were just like, what is an Amouage? Who is a Reflection Man? And how can I spray this on my nuts? Sex magnet. Still to this day relevant. That one has to have at least 50 plus videos out there from different content creators. And I think more people that get into the space, because I know that there's like 70 to 1,000 new content creators in the fragrance space daily at this point. Once they start getting exposed to the throwbacks like Amouage Reflection Man, there's probably going to be another 50 daily. Amouage Reflection Man, sexy, spicy, musky, fire, just pure sex appeal in a bottle. Still rock that shit to this day. Shook FRAGCOMM, kid. Next one. With all the overhypeness of Aventus, people started trickling down to a more affordable option, or I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to switch it up a little bit and have a little bit of cost savings. So that's where Mancera Cedra Boisé came in. Let's be clear, that can easily be said for Club de Nuit Intense, which is not on this list right now, but must be on this list. So I'm putting it slightly parallel because the Mancera still kept the authenticity of it being a niche fragrance at a more affordable price with as much punch, if not more punch, than a Creed Aventus. The Club de Nuit portion was just a clone, an alternative, a budget conscious option that really shook the world, but Cedra Boisé still kept that niche bougie quality. There was no real embarrassment or like shock or like hidden agenda like, oh, it's a clone, it's a fake, or whatever. It was like, nah, this is a brand called Mancera, that's niche shit. No, you're not gonna get it at Macy's. And Cedra Boisé is still hitting lists till this day, dogs. It's a banger. I like the original a little bit more than the Intense, but I have my moments where I go back and forth. But Cedra Boisé is a beautiful musky bergamot, slightly pineapple-ish kind of citrus fucking just anal penetrating monster. Ooh, that sounded crazy. Gorgerific scent profile that right now on the gray market, with more gray market websites selling fragrances, you can find probably in the 150 or less if you shop it around. So Cedra Boisé shook the platform of FRAGCOMM. Next one. Let's take it back another 9 years to Dolce & Gabbana, the one EDP. Everybody knew about EDT, and EDT got a ton of love, but when the EDP came out, when that darker brown gradient bottle came out, what? Bro, I know how I felt. I was like, hey, yo, the EDT is litty 7 titty, but this joint, wow, the masculinity, the maturity, the sex appeal, the suave. Like, my fat ass wanted to throw on a suit and pick up a briefcase and shine my dusty ass shoes from the baby shower. Fam, that fragrance was legendary. And I, to this day, don't feel that that shit is dated at all. We talking about the Papi Shampoo in the Dolce & Gabbana line. That's AKA Mr. Talk to Me Nice. I feel like the EDP was worlds ahead of the EDT, and there isn't a video that you're gonna find on YouTube that's gonna disagree with me. And if you do, I'm not surprised, but still, Dolce & Gabbana EDP made such a huge splash on FRAGCOMM and probably switched the game up too. Next one. Paco Rabanne 1 million. Polarizing fragrance at this point. Everybody wanted it. There was just that super sweet clubbing scent profile that will absolutely drop the panties. It never did it for me, but it's been said to. For me, it just sparked too sweet. It wasn't bad, and there's a bunch of flankers that are way better than the original. But saying that on YouTube, there is billions, with a B, billions of views on a Paco Rabanne fragrance. Need I say more? Next one. And finally, the ultimate man's man, the suit in a bottle, Acqua di Gio Profumo. I think the FRAGCOMM bubble came in at the tail end of the original Acqua di Gio, but once the Profumo hit the scene, shook. Another one that has at least 100 million views on YouTube on this particular scent. It's just the classy scent profile. It's a no-brainer for the office scent. It deviates from that fuckboy energy. It's just pure class. There's days that I tolerate it and I like it, and there's other days that I'm like, I just can't wear this. My lifestyle is not conducive to this scent profile. But my visual appearance absolutely looks like I should be wearing it, because I look like somebody's father trying to be a 21-year-old. Well, I am somebody's father, but that's besides the point. If you've been in the fragrance community well over 7 years, you're gonna tell me you didn't own Acqua di Gio Profumo? Think about that for a second. So there you go, guys. 10 legendary fragrances. Again, there are much more, but these are 10 legendary fragrances that help formulate what FRAGCOMM has become currently. Which, as previously mentioned, some of the OGs don't like what it's become, but it's kind of like our parents and our music generation, and when we get to this age, what we think of the current music generation. Things start to formulate, switch. We have to adapt. We gotta get with the time. That's just how it bees like. I love y'all mother suckers from the heart, the people who've been in the fragrance community all these years. Why don't you list your 10 fragrances that you feel have switched the entire fabric of the fragrance community? Leave it in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all snitches next time. You know who it is, biggest in the game. Smooches.
Cubaknow, what's fresh, who's best? Wanna know who's gonna pass the test? Cubaknow.
For the fly gun holder, money folder, motor roller, start tack when it's time to call back. For the rough, rugged, and raw way, this nigga Jay, it's a game, but he don't play. Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's nonsense, you never get in. It's nonsense that you would think that you would.